Here we go.
Ooh, do we have... We have people jumping in now, so we'll give it probably a minute or two to get people.
As you join the webinar, feel free to post your introduction in chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. All right.
Amazing. People from all over. I'm going to give everyone about another 30 seconds and we'll get started. I see some Washington folks. I'm from Washington, but I see a bunch of Texas folks. This is where I'm at right now.
Las Vegas in the house, Austin, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Oakland. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Chara.
Alrighty. Well, I'll go ahead and get us started. I know we want to jump in, make sure that we give our wonderful women here a chance to share. So I'm Mercedes Gamore. I am the national chair for our NAWIC DEI committee. I am hailing from Puget Sound, Chapter 60, which is out here in the Seattle area. I'm currently in San Antonio, so if there's any San Antonio people on the call, it is too hot here to live. I can't be here longer than just today. We're super excited to have you all with us and kicking off our Construction and Inclusion Week webinars this week. For those of you who maybe haven't participated in Construction Inclusion Week before or want to know a little bit more about it, Construction Inclusion Week started about 4 years ago. And it's really an opportunity to build awareness and promote companies and individuals and actions that really create a more supportive and welcoming environment in the construction industry. So it helps us really kind of set expectations for inclusive behavior, empowers each of us to reach our potential, help us drive innovation, strengthen our relationships, and really impact the communities that we're in. So Lisa has done a fantastic job of lining up some really amazing speakers this week. So we hope that you can join us all week. This is the only webinar this week that is at 12 p.m. PST. The rest are at 11 a.m. PST. So join us for those. All of those links are on National's social media pages. And then one final shout out, if you really like the content that you get this week from the committee, we'd love to have you join us. Our committee meetings are bi-monthly, and those are posted on National's website. Our next meeting is in November. We also have pillars. So we have an education pillar, which Lisa leads as our pillar lead. And then we have community pillar that focuses on our DEI awards. And then we have a communication pillar that is really kind of, we're revamping what that looks like this year. But we have a lot of really amazing things we're doing this year. And if you want to get involved or interested in coming to one of the meetings and just listening and seeing what we're about, check us out on National website. And then we will put our email and a form link in the chat if you're interested in joining us or have questions. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Mercedes. Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited to introduce you to three women from McKinstry. McKinstry was awarded the NAWIC 2024 DE&I Corporate Leadership Award. And we are excited to bring some of these leaders to you and explore some of the initiatives that they are engaged with at McKinstry. And as part of a comprehensive commitment to DE&I, McKinstry has made significant progress in increasing representation of women at the company, advancing opportunities for women in skilled trades, curating partnerships with women-owned businesses, and driving learning and development that fosters a sense of inclusion. So let me introduce you to our panelists. First, we have Ashley Ruiz. She is the Vice President of Social Impact at McKinstry. She is a national leader in designing, constructing, operating, and maintaining high-performing buildings. Ashley leads McKinstry's social and environmental responsibility work, including diversity, equity, and inclusion, employee volunteerism, philanthropy, ESG reporting, and decarbonization strategy, driving change across our industry and communities. Ashley holds her Master's of Science in Project and Program Management from Brandeis University, Bachelor of Arts in Gender and Women's Studies and International Studies from the University of Denver, a certificate in Strategic Social Responsibility from Pepperdine, a certificate in Corporate Sustainability from NYU, and is an accredited project management professional. We also have Teresa Little, the Talent Development Manager for McKinstry. She has over 20 years of experience in learning and development, specializing in design and facilitating leadership programs. She currently manages the talent development team at McKinstry, and she leads initiatives that enhance employee growth, leadership capabilities, and organizational effectiveness. A highlight of her career was receiving the prestigious 2023 Impact Award at McKinstry. This award is given to a small number of employees for their significant contributions to environmental and social responsibility. Teresa is known for her passion for empowering individuals and fostering growth. She's dedicated to driving positive change and helping teams reach their full potential. Teresa holds a Bachelor's of Science in Mass Communications from Middle Tennessee State University and several certificates from the Center for Leadership Studies and Crucial Learning. And lastly, we have Kate Clayman. Kate is the Senior Program Manager at McKinstry. She's responsible for leading the vendor diversity and building good programs at McKinstry. Kate is responsible for driving initiatives that foster inclusion of MWBDEs across the company and developing approaches to develop and grow diverse business enterprises. In addition, Kate manages McKinstry's community engagement and volunteering initiatives called Building Good. Kate is the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors for the Northwest Mountain Minority Supplier Development Council, a Board of Directors member for the Women Business Enterprise Council West, and the Chair of the University of Washington's Ascend Market Access Council. McKinstry was recognized in 2023 with the Regional Corporation of the Year, and Kate was recognized with the Advocate of the Year Award by WMMSDC. Kate received her bachelor's degree from Brandeis University, and she is fluent in Russian and Spanish, and she holds the Diversity and Inclusion Certificate from Cornell University. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for bringing your leadership and experience and wisdom to this panel. I look forward to hearing your stories and more about what you are doing with McKinstry today. So in that sense, could you please introduce yourself and something that you've done at McKinstry? Starting with Ashley.
Sure. Well, hi, Lisa. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today and giving us this great opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the work that we have done. Gosh, I think you covered most of it in the bio. The only piece that I might add is I've been at McKinstry for 13 years now. The first portion of my time at McKinstry was really focused on leading one of our initiatives in the business geared around energy efficiency in buildings. And during that time, I did a lot of work around diversity, equity, and inclusion and community engagement, even before it was formally part of my position. So it's really been a pleasure to be doing this work formally in a formal social impact role for about the past 7 years now. And we're really excited to share more with you all today. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Teresa, could you introduce yourself and something that you are doing at McKinstry?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone on the call. Excited to be here with you today. As you've heard, my name is Teresa Little. I have been with McKinstry for about 5.5 years. Currently a remote employee, so I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so representing the Southeast. Don't know if anyone from the Southeast or Atlanta is on the call, but if so, let me know so I can give you a shout out. Currently in Seattle doing some work here, and that's what I'll highlight. You'll hear more about the work that we've done to advance DEI at McKinstry throughout this presentation. But one of the reasons I'm currently in Seattle and one of my passions is the work that I get to do with one of our alliance groups. You'll hear more about our alliance groups as part of our presentation as well. But I've sat on the committee of our Unity Alliance, which is our alliance for BIPOC employees, for the last couple of years, and continue to do some leadership development with those alliance members and alliance leaders. So that's one of the things that I love doing. One of the reasons why I'm in Seattle this week, and excited to be on this call with you all to share more about other initiatives as our conversation progresses.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And Kate Clayman, can you introduce yourself and things that you're working on with at McKinstry?
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me. I'm Kate Clayman, and I have been with McKinstry for a little over 3 years now. And I am based in Denver. And many things that I'm proud of, but I was brought on to McKinstry to actually launch a vendor diversity program or supply diversity, which was super exciting. And I love the opportunity and getting to build out processes and different types of initiatives to support diverse businesses. So very exciting, and we'll definitely speak to that throughout the session.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And just an encouragement to all attendees, feel free to drop your questions for our panelists in the Q&A box down below on the Zoom screen. So Ashley, my first question is to you. Can you tell me about what does a commitment to equity and inclusion look like at McKinstry?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lisa. Well, first, you mentioned a little bit in the intro, but let me just say a little bit more about McKinstry and who we are as an organization for everyone out there that might not be super familiar with us. So we are a full service design, build, operate, maintain firm headquartered in Seattle. We started in Seattle in 1960 as a plumbing company. And now we really focus on all aspects of the built environment. So our expertise includes mechanical and electrical contracting, energy efficiency, renewables, building operations and maintenance services. And we perform that kind of work for clients all over the United States. We have about 3,000 employees. Half of those are professional staff, and half of them are union skilled trade workers. And one of the things that makes McKinstry really unique, and a big part of the reason why I have been here for 13 years now, is because we really care about being a purpose-oriented organization and living our values. So we really work hard to have a greater impact beyond the built environment and beyond the things that we are doing with our clients. So in 2020, we developed a really aspirational organizational strategic plan that we call Action for Impact. And that plan is organized around our work and our aspiration to address 3 central crises in the world: the climate crisis, the equity crisis, and the affordability crisis. And, this is not just my team's plan, but this is really our overarching organizational guiding document. And it's pretty amazing and pretty aspirational for a company in construction and engineering to have addressing equity as one of their 3 central pillars as an organization. So in service of that commitment, we have a comprehensive DEI strategic plan that we've been working on for the past 4 years that is geared around some really tangible focus areas that can help us make progress both within and outside the walls of McKinstry to advance DEI. So those focus areas address community impact, training and development, personal ownership, job site inclusion, racial equity, and several other things. And we have a lot of people in our organization that have been working various aspects of our plan over the prior years. So in addition to having that high level call to action, we also have invested in resourcing to support that work, which is really important and a piece that frankly is often lacking in organizations, even when they have some of these big aspirational commitments. The last piece that I really wanted to highlight as it relates to our overarching commitment is that that commitment extends all the way to the top. Our CEO and executive leadership have been really steadfast in our commitment to DEI. And I recognize, and I think all of us do, that we're living in really hyper-partisan times these days. But for us, our work around DEI isn't political. It's really a manifestation of our values and our commitment to ensure that all of our people are valued and welcomed at McKinstry and beyond. And so our work has really been a collective effort with all of these different levels of commitment. And I'm really proud that we have an opportunity to share more about that today.
That is so exciting. It is so exciting to hear about a company that truly puts its values out front, and does a lot to follow up with that. Can you provide an overview of some of the initiatives McKinstry has done to advance representation, advancement, and belonging of women internally and externally?
Yeah. So we've done a lot of work for many years around gender representation and inclusion at McKinstry, and that really was our starting point in DEI, was really focusing on women and the opportunity that we had to advance and support women in the industry. So you're going to hear more today from my amazing two colleagues here about training and development and supplier diversity, so I'll skip those for now. A couple other initiatives that I wanted to highlight for the group. One of them we have been really focused on is increasing representation, advancement, and retention of women. You know, we all, I'm sure here on the call, know that women are still significantly underrepresented in construction, but I'm super proud that 34% of our total staff are women, and that has increased by 4 percentage points since 2020. And additionally, and perhaps even more importantly, 28% of our people managers are women, which represents a nearly 9 percentage point increase since 2020. And we all know that ensuring women are represented in management and leadership is really critical to really driving significant and lasting organizational change. And so that has been an ongoing and central focus to our work. We also recognize that there is still more need for diversity in the skilled construction trades. And as a union contractor, we've really been focused on working with our contractor associations and our union partners to encourage diversity. So just an example of some of the things we've done in that area. For the past year, I've been chairing the first ever DEIB committee with the Mechanical Contractors Association of Western Washington. We're also heavily involved in pre-apprenticeship programs that support women who are interested in exploring career pathways in the industry. So we know that getting women into the industry is an important piece, but only one part of the puzzle. So once women are here and working at McKinstry, we also have 3 active women's employee resource groups, which Teresa mentioned earlier. We call those alliances at McKinstry, but that's our version of ERGs. And those really are designed to help women find community and a sense of belonging. And then finally, we've really been starting to focus more on job site inclusion over the past several years outside of our offices. You know, like most companies in this industry, we have a lot of women who work on construction sites, at client locations, in mobile service vans, and at many other locations out in the field. And one of the things that we've done that I'm particularly proud of is that earlier this year, we actually created and deployed women's field kits, which contain health and safety products for our women in the field, including period products, hair protection, so things like hair ties, and then also bathroom hygiene items for job sites and service vans where we know that bathroom access may be limited or less than desirable. So those are complimentary, available to all of our women craft workers, and then they can also get free refills that we manage and support through our on-site tool room distribution center as well. So those are just a couple of our initiatives, and I know we're going to be talking more about some of those areas here today.
That is so awesome. That is so fascinating. And if you check in the comments, people are thrilled to hear about the initiatives that are in practice, and the alliance with the Mechanical Contractors Association, the Women's Field Kits. This is just so wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley. Teresa, can you please share a little bit more information about McKinstry's initiatives that are done around learning and development in alignment with the DE&I commitment?
Absolutely. We have taken a very intentional approach to align our learning and development initiatives with that DEI commitment that you heard Ashley talk about. And one of the core strategies is offering leadership development programs that are designed to cultivate inclusive leadership skills across all levels of the company. And so if anyone here is a learning and development professional, you know, a lot of our work is centered around overarching strategy. And at McKinstry, one of the ways we communicate that is we want to get people's heads and hearts involved. Then we want to get their hands involved, and then we want to harvest that effort. So that has been the kind of overarching strategy to support our DE&I work. So I want to point out some of the things that we've done that kind of fall under each one of those categories. So heads and hearts, that's really around awareness and commitment. Like we just want to get people like aware of what these things mean and why they matter. And hopefully then again, transfer from head into heart, get them really committed and wanting to learn and do more. So two things I'll pull out of there that fall into that category. Last year, we completed a 12-part self-paced e-learning series. That's literally called Intro to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And it's available to all of our staff. The idea there is that we do some knowledge transfer. If you didn't know what a microaggression was, you will after that e-learning series. If you didn't know what privilege is or bias is, that's all included in this 12-part asynchronous learning. They're 15-minute modules or less. So the 12-part series can, be done within a couple hours, but we're really proud of that because that's something for all of our staff. And another all staff effort is an initiative called Building Bridges. And so we've done Building Bridges for about the last 3 years, where we invite all staff to participate in a conversation around a DEI topic. And so just a couple examples of those topics in the past have been inclusive leadership, gender identity and expression, gender equity in the workplace, microaggressions, and unconscious bias. So it's our staff and our employees having a conversation with each other about these topics. So a little bit more about what happens. Our core team chooses a topic, and then we choose resources that support that topic. We put those resources out to the staff so that they can prepare themselves by reading and learning about the topic prior to the conversation. And then we have a few staff members, employees that ask to be lead conversationalists. So they're not panelists, they're not intended to be experts, but they're intended to lead the conversation based on the resources we provided so that ultimately we're learning as a community. That has worked really well for us. We've gotten a really great attendance on our Building Bridges sessions over the past few years. So that kind of lands in that heads and hearts. And then I don't want to take up too much time, but in the hands, we are just finishing up a leadership training for inclusive managing, like how to manage inclusively. It's a very tactical 2-hour virtual instructor-led training that says this is what inclusive leadership looks like, and this is what it's not. So not getting in the details, but it definitely gives our leaders a tactical guide to how to manage more inclusively. And then in that harvest piece, we don't want DEI to sit as the one thing that HR or social impact is doing. So we're attempting to integrate these topics into all leadership development programs and other communications and other initiatives so they don't just have to sit alone and they become a part of what we do every day.
Wow, that is so awesome. It truly sounds like it's integrated for everybody at every aspect of McKinstry. That is so exciting. I'd like to know, why is it important for leaders to recognize differences in their teams?
I mean, don't we want our teams to be innovative and collaborative? And honestly, when you recognize differences, it increases overall performance of the individuals and teams. And again, everyone on this call knows that construction is historically a male-dominated industry. So acknowledging diverse perspectives, especially from women, can unlock new ways of solving problems, managing projects, and overall connecting with clients. We truly believe that our differences make us better. They help us solve problems and help us be more innovative. So in some of our trainings, we actually highlight inclusive learning and experiential learning activities to help our leaders see why understanding differences is so important. So without going through the whole the activity, there's one iceberg activity. So everybody probably on the chat, tell me what you know about icebergs. Throw it in chat, but let's see if anyone's real quick. Typically what we know about icebergs is, anyone coming? No. They're all about themselves. There we go, Holly. You typically only see above the surface. You only see about 10 to 15%. So one activity in one of our trainings is that we actually encourage leaders to say, hey, guess what? There's so much underneath the surface, not only of an iceberg, but in people as well. And highlighting and understanding those differences, the things that sit below the waterline, under the surface, and knowing how to meet your employees there and serve them better by understanding that information is going to, again, help you get to that more collaborative team, have overall sense of belonging and inclusion, increase overall performance, and help us solve problems and be more innovative.
Wow.
Sorry, some of my trainer came out there. I'm like looking
good.
in the chat.
Yeah. And it helped us kind of like, wait, what do I know about icebergs? It makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. And it's so exciting to see that there is some real energy behind your training. It's not just what are we learning about today? It's an expected point of engagement and point of thought to enhance leadership, which is just so cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about why is training and training and development important to advancing a culture of inclusion?
Absolutely. We need training and development to advance that culture of inclusion because this is like we've seen it firsthand. Our leaders and some of our employees simply were less comfortable having conversations around DEI topics because they had a lack of understanding and knowledge. Like, not everyone is totally opposed to DEI topics and conversations. A lot of them just didn't know where to start, how to start, what I can say and what I can't. And so that's where your training and development comes in. Back to our overarching approach, heads and hearts first. Like, you have to have something that communicates what it is, why it matters, and why it's important. And that's where training and development is the start of that. And then when you have the training and you've set those expectations and you've given people an understanding and maybe even some do's and don'ts, then hopefully they can then incorporate that into what they do every day more effectively. So I believe training and development not only helps to start that momentum, then hopefully people start doing more things on their own to learn and educate themselves. But it also, I mean, when a company has that ingrained in their DNA of the company, it just shows another level of commitment that employees are happy and to see and be a part of.
Absolutely. I love the concept of incorporating DE&I into a company's DNA. That is exciting. Thank you so much, Teresa. That was a lot to think about. And I can see in the chat that people are excited about the things that you're sharing. So thank you so much for that inspiration.
Absolutely.
Hey, I've got a couple questions for you.
Right.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about what has McKinstry done to uplift and advance women-owned businesses?
Yeah, and just a quick side note, I've actually taken a lot of trainings from Teresa, and it's always been super engaging and awesome. So, but yeah, in terms of what McKinstry has done, I think first and foremost, which is something that I think is super important, just being in supply diversity for many years, is that McKinstry really, the executive committee, and then with Ashley's leadership, decided to establish a vendor diversity or supply diversity program. And so I had the opportunity in 2021 to work with McKinstry and help establish a program for all of our teams. And I think the best thing about the program is that it really is something that engages everyone throughout different project teams, stakeholders, decision makers. It's not like a siloed program that folks are not engaged with. I think that is really, to me, very impressive. And so McKinstry actually set internal KPIs and goals, and with supply diversity, especially in construction, there are a lot of client requests, mandates, there's compliance involved. There are also inclusion plans that are requested and required through clients. But I think with McKinstry, what is also, to me, impressive is that we have our own internal KPIs for each of our lines of businesses. So regardless if a line of businesses has a number of clients that it's requesting, either if you say MWDBE or diverse spend data, we ourselves are holding our teams internally accountable for supply diversity and making sure that we're working with diverse businesses, including them in the bid process, in the interview process, that we're including them on our project sites. And so in a lot of the projects that I work on, yes, there's a client goal, but there may not be a client goal. It's just something that our teams know that we are doing as part of our mission with McKinstry, and it aligns with our values. In addition to that, we have built a really great support network of advocates and champions across all of our lines of businesses, across our different geographical locations. So we've been able to establish a vendor diversity council. And so that includes meetings, regular meetings with key stakeholders and leaders in our different locations. And we discuss upcoming opportunities, projects, different types of engagement and events that we request support from our people. And so again, it makes it more of a our program as opposed to a kind of like an outsider program. So it's really, I think, great because people feel like they are part of the solution and they get engaged. And then we've also been really focusing on mentorship and capacity building for small and diverse businesses, which we think is really important. And McKinstry also has a history of mentoring small and diverse businesses even before a program was established, which I think is, again, really impressive, where individuals just kind of took it upon themselves to help businesses that they're partnering with so that they could be successful on the projects. And so we took that kind of like interest and initiative, and we've developed our own programs. One of them that we've been able to establish, I think successfully, is we call it Scale Up. And we had the buy-in from our executive committee. It's about a year-long program where we select diverse business enterprises that we hope can potentially work on our projects at some point, but even if not, they get a lot of great information about the construction industry and the construction business. We pair them with experts from McKinstry for one-on-one mentorship, as well as providing monthly presentations for them to engage in, with a capstone project that they have to complete, which includes them focusing on a business challenge that they're experiencing that McKinstry can help solve with them, in partnership with them. And what's, I think, is like probably not the best part of Scale Up, but one of them, our CEO, Dean Allen, hosts our graduation and CEO roundtable, where he hears from the businesses who present their capstone project. He provides feedback and asks them questions. And the real goal is to help these businesses become successful businesses in the industry, to help them grow, and also for our McKinstry people to be able to tap into a pipeline of diverse businesses that they can partner with on their projects. And then in addition to that, we've really also been focusing on, for women-owned businesses and diverse-owned businesses, helping them be successful partners on our projects. So we focused on accelerated payment, which we all know is a struggle, especially in construction, because for the subcontractors, it takes a lot of capital to be able to work on these long-term projects in some cases. And so capital becomes a big challenge. And so we have been able to successfully work with our accounts payable team to provide options for accelerated payment terms. We also provide virtual sessions on how to do business with McKinstry. And so we give information on insurance, on bonding. what they need to know about pre-qualification and safety, so that they're just set up with more knowledge going into potential work with McKinstry. So it's been, I think, great because we get so much buy-in from different leaders at McKinstry. And I think it shows, I mean, just in 2024, we've spent about 22 million with over 90 women-owned businesses. So that just shows how much commitment we have internally, which is great.
That is a incredible case study on what successful outreach to minority-owned diverse businesses looks like. Thank you so much, Kate. That is so
Yeah.
thoroughly exciting. What a great opportunity to collaborate with the subs and engage them at a meaningful level. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So cool. So how do you think diverse business inclusion supports equity and inclusion in the field and on the project teams?
Yeah, well, I think in general, anytime there's an inclusive process or program, I think it just drives more equity and inclusion in general and overall. And so, we've been fortunate to partner with a number of women-owned businesses. And what we also have seen just statistically is that diverse-owned businesses tend to hire talent that's underrepresented and in underrepresented communities. And so I think by hiring more women-owned businesses, you will, work with talent from underrepresented backgrounds, which is great. And it's bringing more diversity and inclusion on the field and on project teams. And I think what we've seen at McKinstry is that these women-owned businesses bring more awareness. And so you have these amazing businesses led by women. You have other women looking at these businesses as almost like role models, and they're also involved. Many of these women-owned businesses are involved in organizations like NAWIC and other advocacy groups. So bringing awareness to these issues, which I think is wonderful. And then you are also seeing a large number of women-owned businesses, not just subcontractors on the field, but also a large number of like engineering women-owned businesses. And there's been a great increase of women-owned businesses in like the technical services space, who hire more women in or are more engaged in programming like in STEM education, and they're out there raising awareness for young women who are looking to go into not only the STEM field or construction, but also are like, oh wow, I could be a woman-owned business too one day. And it's pretty great to see that connection.
Absolutely. And I'm curious too, in regards to the inclusion on project teams, if there's just overall a wonderful reception of all these people coming in from especially the underrepresented neighborhoods and areas where maybe they're not used to being on a job site. Is there an overall effort towards inclusion and support in the
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think in general, especially from, I would say, the project teams that we've had the opportunity to work with in terms of onboarding, I would say women-owned and diverse-owned businesses, we've made it a point, and it's been very intentional, of saying, if we do have smaller diverse-owned businesses that are starting out with McKinstry, that there is more support. There's a greater number of mentorship that I've seen. We've had a number of our subject matter experts reach out. Like, for example, our safety team has helped a number of businesses to just even look at their safety manual and to also do on-job training for the people to know, hey, this is how McKinstry values safety, and these are the things you should know. And there's been a lot more, I would say, an intentional point to make sure that not only the business itself is successful, but the people that are working for the business are successful as well.
That is so fantastic. That is so exciting. I've noticed in each of your stories and statements of progress and growth and inclusion, everything seems to be so structured. There is a a true a structure to these programs and to this outreach and to this training and development, this leadership training. And I think it's just so wonderful that folks truly have something to fit inside of as they learn and grow with McKinstry. It's just absolutely exciting. So thank you so much. I have one final question before I get to our audience questions, and this is to all of you. What can you say is one thing that McKinstry has done to promote gender inclusion that you're most proud of? Ashley, would you like to start us off?
Sure. You know, one thing that Kate just mentioned, but we didn't unfortunately have a lot of time to talk about today, and I'm really proud of, is our work really around helping to inspire and encourage girls to get more interested in STEM fields and in the construction skilled trades in particular. McKinstry has done a lot of work for many years around STEM mentorship, again, in like the engineering kind of professional expertise space. But we've also really the last few years really started to expand our focus to thinking about how we can provide opportunity and exposure to girls in the construction skilled trades. And so I know we started off hearing from Mercedes. We've been really proud to sponsor Can't Build Her, which has been one of the initiatives that she has focused on geared around middle school girls and helping provide them with access and exposure to construction. We also, every summer for the past 2 years, we host a program in our Seattle fabrication shop called the Heavy Metal Summer Experience. And it's a 6-week multi-trade exposure program with high school students to give them experience and hands-on opportunity in a pretty awesome fab shop. And last year we had several girls in the program, which we were so super excited about. And this was an opportunity for them to have hands-on exposure to plumbing, piping, sheet metal, low voltage electrical work, and a lot more. And I think what's that saying? If you can see it, you can be it. But it is so true. I think for a lot of these girls, even if they don't end up doing this in the future, just the opportunity to have some exposure and interact with other professionals in the industry is so super important and really helps to drive that next generation of talent.
I love that. I love that. I mean, you really are building up and adding to our future workforce. That is awesome. Thank you for that, Ashley. Teresa, what do you think is one thing McKinstry has done to promote gender inclusion that you're most proud of?
Absolutely. So taking it again from the training and learning and development lens, we have multiple leadership development programs that are typically cohort based. Some of those are employees can, register for themselves if they meet certain requirements, and others, especially those that are intended to develop our senior leadership, are nomination based programs. And so in those nomination-based programs, and the ones that, again, are intended to develop our most senior leaders, and we know we want to have more women leaders in our field, we try to make our percentage 40 to 50% of those cohorts women. And you actually shared some numbers on the front end of the call, and we are very proud that, we're a little over 30% women for all staff, but we know we need to even do a little bit more when it comes to developing our leaders, our women leaders. So then curating and curating our cohort so that they are highly represented by women in leadership and women developing to be leaders is important and something that I'm proud of, and one thing we do to promote that gender equity.
That is fantastic. Like you said, very focused, very intentional on development of women's education and construction. I love that. Kate, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think in my opinion, one of the things that I think has been really a great focus on including more and doing more for women-owned businesses is McKinstry. Yes, we are focused on our diversity spend and making sure that we're increasing that year over year. But I think what's really great is that we also focus on just that one-on-one connection and making sure that it's not just about the spend, but helping the business itself and helping the women-owned business leaders. And for example, we had, like I mentioned, our Scale Up Accelerator program. After that, I usually offer all of the businesses to stay connected with me and to meet on a one-on-one basis. And with one business in particular, women-owned business. She's pretty young, pretty new to construction, and she had a concrete company. We continued to meet. She received support from a number of our subject matter experts. She had help with her estimation process, her project management process. She then became, just recently, a few months ago, a GC in Seattle area, still offering concrete services, but also became a general contractor, had help from our teams on how to get the licenses that are required. And not only has been like a subcontractor for some of our projects, but now she's actually hired McKinstry on some of the projects that she received awards from. So it's a great relationship, and there's many stories like that, but and it's just the relationship is what I think is also really great, and something that McKinstry does really well is making sure that it's not just about metrics and data, but it's also about that personal connection.
That is an incredible case study of success and mentorship. Thank you so much, man. That's going to stay with me. Oh, wow. We do have so far 2 questions from our very engaged audience here. The first one goes back to Ashley, what you were saying about how McKinstry does a lot to provide women with kits on job site to take care of their hair and their health. And so he asks, for the workplace pack, was there anything additional other than feminine hygiene products, hair management, and toiletry products that were included in those kits?
Thanks for asking that question. So yes, there's about 30 items, I believe, that are in the final field kit that we created. And we really did it in consultation with a number of our women who work in the field to get very specific input and feedback from them around what types of things do they need and what would be useful to them. So, I mentioned, yes, there's period products, things like pads and tampons. We also provide, I mentioned hair protection, so hair ties. We provide a hair gaiter in there if you need something to be able to cover hair. We have just general safety items, so things like tissues and Advil and other items that just might not be accessible on a job site. And then also, a number of items that are really around bathroom hygiene. And we have some optional add-ons. So we have nursing pads. Yeah, I just saw the one shout out. Sunscreen would be great. We do have hand lotion in there because a number of our women said, that's really helpful to them just when their skin gets really dry. And that was like a nice add-in. So we did include that as well. And we actually ended up patenting the kit, and we did that not to make money off of it, but our aim is that we can actually get a manufacturing partner to make these and make them available beyond just McKinstry workforce, because we agree and we think that this is a really important and really necessary item to really help women be able to be healthy and safe and supported in the field in the same way that we think about some of these items for our office workers. And so we definitely want to ensure that we're able to kind of get these out there and make them available so that we can provide some different resources to our folks that work in the field.
That's really great. There is a follow-up question to that, so I'll ask that at this point. The comment is, as a safety officer, we're not allowed to have Advil in our first aid kits per L&I. So how are you able to get that product into the kits?
That's a good question, and probably better one for our safety folks or our field folks than me. And I do know we went through quite a bunch of different iterations around what exactly we could have and couldn't have in there. And I do know we don't have brand name items in there, so I also shouldn't. That's just a common use of the term, but I shouldn't have used that specific word. So yeah, I mean, we're working on a couple of different things, but that's something that we're always staying on top of in terms of regulations.
Well, that is a great way to take care of your people out there. So that is a wonderful way to be inclusive of the different diverse job site needs that folks have. So the second question is a very interesting one that I think is an important one to discuss here. person states that, it's troublesome how DEI has become so politicized. How can we get leadership behind incorporating a DEI program? Does it start with trainings? We're bumping up against leaders who just don't see the importance. So, Teresa, do you have any thoughts on this? Would you like to start the conversation?
I can. Yeah, and then I'll pass it over to Ashley. I would say first thing is, what are your employees telling you? Like, that's a good start. Like, even if your leadership isn't bought in, what are your employees saying? I don't know about other companies, but every company I've ever been a part of does some type of employee engagement survey. And through that engagement survey, you're hearing from your employees and they're telling you what's important. So if you want to put the stats aside, the stats I said, when you have more diverse perspectives, that helps with problem solving and collaboration, and it helps bring in new clients and customers to the business. Those stats exist. But if those aren't speaking to your leaders, what are your people saying? And maybe that will speak to your leaders. So that's my first response.
I love that. That's important because people can walk quite easily. Ashley, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, this is a tough one. And I mean, yes, to Teresa's point, like there is a very clear business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It exists and it's existed for a long time. Increases in productivity, in creativity, in innovation, in retention, right? You name it. And there's a number of different facets that we know and have been continuously proven that DEI efforts really help and support in organizations. And so I just have to say it's unfortunate that we still find ourselves talking about the business case of DEI in organizations, because at this point feels like it should be accepted as just something that organizations need to do for business success. And I will say most companies agree with that statement that I just made. We're living in a world where it feels like, and there's a lot of chatter about companies pulling back on DEI programs. But the reality is, and some of the data that has come out over the past year shows that most companies are not. They did a big conference board study earlier this year, the end of last year, and interviewed several hundred chief HR executives who all said they are not cutting their DEI programs. Similarly, there's been other surveys with executives across the country. Over 80% or 90% of those folks continuously say that they still believe that diversity initiatives are critical to the success of their business and will be continuously critical to the success of their business over time. And so, when you think about like, how do you communicate it? This is kind of a silly example, but it came to mind. So Teresa and I co-developed this inclusive manager training that she mentioned earlier. And one of the analogies that we use in that training is we talk about a sports team. And I'm not a big sports person, but I think this is a really resonant example with a lot of folks, that if you think about a great baseball team, everybody knows you wouldn't have a great team if everyone was a pitcher, right? Like what makes a team great is having people who are different, who have different skill sets, who have different abilities, who can hit the ball, who can steal a base, who can play the catcher, right? Like it's all these different roles that make a team great. And so just continuing to think about that and help remind, organizations that this is about, having that really broad diversity that helps make everybody stronger and a really great team at the end of the day.
Thank you for framing it in that way. I love the sports metaphor and that all positions have a purpose and importance, and just being able to bring that to the folks that identify it as a box or kind of a minimized of importance. DE&I truly elevates the individual and therefore the team. And McKinstry has provided many examples of how when you do elevate and educate both your employees and your the subcontractors, the diverse contractors, you truly are improving job site safety, collaboration, and incredible opportunities to collaborate and work together in the future. We have a new question, and this one is for Teresa and Ashley. do you believe that the DEI training should be provided in a smaller group, top-down approach management to middle management to site leaders and workers, or should it be a larger group with mixed attendance for perspectives and also ease of administrating the programs and information in terms of efficiency that both can seem capable? Which do you prefer?
Thank you for whoever said bless me. Thank you. I'm over having some allergy attacks. But we truly believe, and this is again based off our experience, that you do the top-down approach in smaller groups. And let me tell you a couple of reasons why. I went back, I said earlier that a lot of the reason why learning and development and training is so important, because you just need to bring people along and have them have an understanding and create a knowledge base around these topics. And so what we found is that our managers were missing that. So we had to start with our managers first. If this is something that we really want to change from just knowledge to, again, doing something about, to being a part. And that is a saying we have DEI as our DNA. If that's a focus, if that is a aspiration for us, we had to start with our managers first to make sure they felt comfortable enough, that they knew what to do, that they had an understanding, and that they were bought in. So top down, meaning managers first, would definitely be our recommendation. And then the smaller groups is another, it doesn't make it easier to manage, to your point. But we have done it both ways, where we were like virtual and 50 plus people can be on a call. But what we realize is that you lose engagement. People aren't feeling as fair, as safe to share, and to ask questions in those groups. So I would say when you're trying to train or transfer knowledge and get some sustained behavior change behind that, the smaller group top-down approach. Now, our Building Bridges session is one where we invite everyone to, and that is a larger audience, but we really only have about 4 to 5 people speaking, and the rest of the community is listening. They can raise their hand, ask questions, or come in and comment. So we have done both. I guess it depends on what your objectives are, but when you're, again, intended to try to knowledge transfer and change behavior, smaller groups, top down.
A lot of sense. Ashley, did you have anything to add?
No, nothing I would add.
Thank you for highlighting the importance of starting off with the management and being able to just engage them in all the different aspects that will be covered in that training, because it is incredibly important to get that vision as part of the future progress. And do any of our other attendees have any questions at this point? We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much to all those who are asking the questions. Samuel, I really appreciate your engagement and participation in this session. It's certainly helped us to highlight some things that that we needed to hear more about. At this point, ladies, thank you so much for just sharing your leadership, sharing the inspiration. Truly, McKinstry has given us a lot to think about. Your leadership in supporting young ladies and supporting diverse-owned businesses, and being able to truly provide a structured, supportive, educational and focused education programs. Your Vendor Diversity Council. There are so many takeaways from this session. Thank you so much for leadership and being able to present the highlights of what McKinstry is offering. So thank you. And
Lisa, thank you for having us. And we were very honored by the recognition from NAWIC this year. So thank you also to NAWIC and the opportunity to share a little bit more today. We really appreciate it.
Definitely. And folks, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 o'clock Eastern for our next topic focused on belonging with Jeremiah. It'll be a wonderful session. Ladies, again, thank you so much. We were all inspired. We appreciate your leadership and your information. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.